Shine forth the Jai Shri Mataji, and a hearty good evening, warm welcome to everyone who has joined us tonight. I'm delighted to say that we're going to put our attention once again on Mr. William Blake. So let's begin, as always, by raising our kundalinis collectively and putting ourselves in bandhan. And with our attention thus in Sasrara, we'll just have a moment of quiet, of enjoying the blissful silence. Sri Ganesha's mantra 4 times. Om Tvameva Sakshat Sri Ganesha Sakshat Sri Adi Shakti Mataji Sri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Sri Ganesha Sakshat Sri Adi Shakti Mataji Sri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Sri Ganesha Sakshat Sri Adi Shakti Mataji Sri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Sri Ganesha Sakshat Sri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devye Namo Namaha. Shri Ganesha, please bless us, watch over us, we thank you again and again for welcoming us into this world of divinity. By your grace we came to Mother's lotus feet. Please continue to endow us as you have done with all the powers of the divine, so that we may make others feel those treasures to which you have led us at the lotus feet of our Divine Mother. Please fill us with the pure compassion for all others, to enable them to become the Spirit, the pure embodiment of truth, consciousness, and bliss. Grant us the Shraddha, the power that looks after us, gives us peace, and above all, complete faith in Sahaja Yoga. Holy Mother, you dwell in our hearts. You give us the fearlessness, the dynamic courage to move forward, not as individuals, but as one, enjoying the deepest connection with and oneness with all of our brothers and sisters who are also self-realized children of our Divine Mother. Give us the divine discrimination and the power to forgive unconditionally. And please lead us into nirvichara, the complete thoughtless awareness. Let's take the mantra of Shri Nirvichara Samadhi. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Nirvichara Samadhi Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devye Namo Namaha. Today we can continue to celebrate the incarnation of Sri Bhairava, who came to this earth 267 years ago in the form of the great seer, poet, painter, and prophet, William Blake. Let's take the mantra for the left side of Sri Maha Kali Sakshat Sri Bhairava. Om Tvameva Sakshat Sri Maha Kali Sakshat Sri Bhairava Sakshat Sri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha. William Blake was perhaps the greatest treasure, not only for this nation, but for the whole world. In that of all the incarnations, he left so much work, so much of his writings, so much of his paintings, his poetry, his letters. We're very blessed that these were so carefully and lovingly preserved. And Sri Mataji knew who he was. She recognized his greatness. And praised him again and again. On Friday, or was it Thursday? Yes, it was Thursday. We listened to a portion of one of Mother's public programs in which she was keen to remind the seekers of this treasure that we have here in England, here in the heart of the universe. And urging people to take him seriously and not enjoy him in any superficial or inauspicious way, but to give him the respect and reverence that he most certainly deserves. So we'll begin this evening by watching another portion of that same talk.
With Blake, one feels compelled to try to establish Jerusalem, whatever may the case, whatever may be the disappointment, whatever may be the disgust, doesn't matter. One has to do it. He had such faith in the England's soil that we have to build the Jerusalem. But first, every one of you who are here must get your realization and humble down before your realization. You are not to be arrogant with it. He said Christ was not humble before human beings, but before God he was. Before his Father he was. In the same way, you have to be humble before your spirit and before your self-realization. And you have to get to the higher state. It's surprising that in India, we had all this knowledge all these years. But we were supposed to be heathens. I don't know what else they called us. We are supposed to be slaves. Nobody wanted to know anything about it. The knowledge of the roots existed. And our intellectuals also never bothered. They always followed Oxford and Cambridge traditions. With this Oxbridge business, we never got through people to tell them about this great knowledge we had in that country, and everything subsided. This knowledge is not meant for India, is not meant for any particular place, is meant for the whole world. As your knowledge of science, all the knowledge of the tree is meant for the whole world, which you gave it to us or to give it to all the Eastern countries and people accepted. What's the harm in accepting the knowledge which comes to you for your benevolence? Only because it is from the Eastern side you feel so insecure about it? From where did Christ come? He came from America? I think he must have run away. Despite that, I must say, among all of them, British are the most matured. But we run after Americans, we run after French, we run after everyone, not being aware of ourselves what we are. We are wisdom. We are the people who represent the heart of the universe. And time has taken from him to this time that we have matured now. I hope we have matured enough to understand that there has to be a breakthrough. When they published my handbills, you see, somehow it so happened that my face has come out quite black in that. I said, forget it, nobody will come to our program. If you show such a black face, they'll say, oh, somebody coming from Africa is trying to teach us what is Jerusalem. So they had to redo it to show that I'm not that black. What difference does it make? The skin deep color, the color comes from the heart. The beauty comes from the heart. The exuberance of the heart expresses that beauty on your being. And the beauty of the truth is that it acts, it works. It just doesn't decorate itself. It doesn't try to take to ways and methods of luring people, but it acts. Whether you like it or not, it acts. Let us work it out. It's simple. Instead of going into intellectual feats and going into the direction of finite understanding through your brains, let us go to the infinite. That's only possible when you get to your spirit, which is infinite, which creates a collective consciousness within, which creates, I say, which means knowledge, but knowledge does not mean what you know through your brain, but what you know through your central nervous system, that you can feel it, that you can feel the chakras of everyone on your fingertips. Muhammad Sahaba said at the time of resurrection, your hands will speak. But look at the Muslims, they never talk of the resurrection, where most of Quran is nothing but resurrection. They talk of the doomsday because they have to make money by frightening people. Beware of the doomsday, you give the money, we'll save. We'll give a certificate at the doomsday, you stand with the certificate, you will be saved. First they will go down in the doomsday. This is for every religion. People have used it for very baser things. Making money, creating political ideas. I can't understand how can diamonds be thrown into dirt like this. I'm covered with that, and the fragrance turned into filth. It is beyond me. The powers of human beings sometimes supersede that of God. You can see the way they can change the forms, they change the beauty, change everything that is reality into something nonsensical and stupid. And they live with it. They don't want to know about it. They enjoy it. We are very happy. People, what's wrong? What a waste one feels of this creation. One feels with what aspirations and visions these human beings were created on this earth. And then what should we do to make them understand what they are, to make them aware with that perception, with that vision of the divine that they are. Sometimes I also cry in the wilderness and share some of the pathos of all these poets who came on this earth and suffered and suffered and suffered. I hope today, with all this anguish, whatever I am telling you, you will try to see that sincerity is the only way you can understand yourself. No books, nothing, no conditioning, no denial, nothing can convince you but the sincerity to know the Spirit which is within you. And this sincerity, I call it as the pure desire. If you have that pure desire, which is the power of your Kundalini, you will get your realization. Now, just now, you should. That's all is needed. The pure desire to be the Spirit. Nothing more than that. But when it is awakened, then it is to be looked after. That's very important. It has to be looked after, it has to be kept burning, it has to be maneuvered and kept at a point that you start growing more and more. I need not tell you all about Sahaja Yoga, it's going to be too much for you, but how Blake has worked for us. So many poets have done this job. And now the new great poets are coming to finish us off, to please the media, to make money, befool us, using flowery words, pleasing sentences, taking us to hell directly. Beware of them. Beware. Save your children from them. Save the whole community. The whole of England has to be saved, because if the heart dies, the whole universe will die. May God bless you.
Let's again just meditate a moment or two. So once again, let's hear some of the words of William Blake, who was born in London and lived most of his life in London, when London was not a very happy place to be. So many lost souls, so many damaged souls. And so few that could understand him. But he was filled with compassion. His heart went out to those lost people. He wrote for them. We don't know how many people he reached at that time, but he also wrote for us. He must have known somewhere deep in the realm of his awareness that this world of lost souls would one day encounter a new form, not only of knowledge, but of certainty, of people who would accept, who would first of all seek, but then accept and embrace truth. So this is what he wrote about London at the time. I believe this poem is simply called London. I wandered through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow. I mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe, in every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every ban, the mind-forged manacles I hear. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. But most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlot's curse blasts the newborn infant's tear, and blights with plagues the marriage hearse. So we're going to hear a bit from Tim Bruce tonight, our wonderful, talented, incredibly dedicated and devoted brother. And he put that poem to music, and so beautifully, and I just wanted to share that with you tonight. So here it is.
I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, In every voice, in every band, the mind-forged manacles I hear. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldiers sigh, the runs in blood down palace walls. In every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mind-forged manacles I hear. But most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlots curse, blast the newborn infant's tear, and blight with plagues the marriage hearse. Blast the newborn infant's tear, and blight with plagues the marriage hearse.
Absolutely beautiful. Around the turn of the century, between the 1700s and the beginning of the 19th century, Blake left London because I think he found it rather oppressive for his work, and went down to the south coast of England to a place called Felpham, where he had a beautiful cottage. He and Catherine went down and settled there, and that's where he wrote his epic poem, which was, of course, Jerusalem, the longest of the epic poems, and one of the hardest to fathom in many ways, but there was such great insights built in. And of course, one of the greatest ways to understand Blake is to work on his text aloud, and that allows the artist to understand him much more easily because getting into the words and speaking them clearly allows the hearers to understand also clearly. So once again, Tim Bruce, there exists and can be found on YouTube, an 8-part reading. I mean, Jerusalem, I believe, is something like 80 or so very dense pages. It's an edited version. A tremendous task that he undertook. And so we're going to hear just a little bit of that, a reading of Jerusalem near the end, actually. It's the section where he's addressing the Christians. So let's have a little of that. No, wrong thing. Where is it? Here we go. Let's hope we don't get an advert coming up.
Part 7 of Jerusalem, the Emanation of the Giant Albion by William Blake, edited and read by Tim Bruce. To the Christians, I give you the end of a golden string. Only wind it into a ball. It will lead you in at heaven's gate, built in Jerusalem's wall. Devils are false religions. Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? We are told to abstain from fleshly desires, that we may lose no time from the work of the Lord. Every moment lost is a moment that cannot be redeemed. Every pleasure that intermingles with the duty of our station is a folly unredeemable and is planted like the seed of a wild flower among our wheat. All the tortures of repentance are tortures of self-reproach on account of our leaving the divine harvest to the enemy, the struggles of entanglement with incoherent roots. I know of no other Christianity and of no other gospel than the liberty both of body and mind, to exercise the divine arts of imagination, the real and eternal world of which this vegetable universe is but a faint shadow, and in which we shall live in our eternal or imaginative bodies when these vegetable mortal bodies are no more. The apostles knew of no other gospel. What were all their spiritual gifts? What is the divine Spirit? Is the Holy Ghost any other than an intellectual fountain? What is the harvest of the gospel and its labours? What is that talent which it is a curse to hide? What are the treasures of heaven which we are to lay up for ourselves? Are they any other than mental studies and performances? What are all the gifts of the gospel? Are they not all mental gifts? Is God a spirit who must be worshipped in spirit and in truth? And are not the gifts of the Spirit everything to man? O ye religious, discountenance every one among you who shall pretend to despise art and science. I call upon you, in the name of Jesus, what is the life of man but art and science? Is it meat and drink? Is not the body more than raiment? What is mortality but the things relating to the body which dies? What is immortality but the things relating to the spirit which lives eternally? What is the joy of heaven but improvement in the things of the spirit? What are the pains of hell but ignorance, bodily lust, idleness, and devastation of the things of the spirit? Answer this to yourselves, and expel from among you those who pretend to despise the labours of art and science, which alone are the labours of the gospel. Is not this plain and manifest to the thought? Can you think at all and not pronounce heartily that to labour in knowledge is to build up Jerusalem, and to despise knowledge is to despise Jerusalem and her builders? And remember, he who despises and mocks a mental gift in another, calling it pride and selfishness and sin, mocks Jesus, the giver of every mental gift, which always appear to the ignorance-loving hypocrite as sins. But that which is a sin in the sight of cruel man is not so in the sight of our kind God. Let every Christian, as much as in him lies, engage himself openly and publicly before all the world in some mental pursuit for the building up of Jerusalem.
I wish we could have let that continue. It is tremendous. It's beautifully clear. I urge you to seek it out. As I say, it's available on YouTube. It's in 8 parts. And this particular one was the start of part 7. And it's actually on the Blake Society YouTube channel. So go to that channel, see a list of their videos, and you will see Tim's 8-part delivery of Jerusalem, the emanation of giant Albion. Blake kept in touch with his London patrons and friends, pretty much so. Oops. And in particular, Thomas Butts, to whom he wrote very frequently, and So I'm just finding a little passage that I want to read from, and it's disappeared off my phone for a moment. I will find it again. Yes. Okay. So yes, they headed down to Felpham, and this was, I suppose, one of the first letters that he wrote after arriving and getting themselves into this little cottage. He says, "Dear friend of my angels, we were safe arrived, having moved house from London to our cottage in Felpham, near to the sea, without accident or hindrance 10 days ago. We had 7 different chaises and as many different drivers. All upon the road was cheerfulness and welcome. We travelled through a most beautiful country on a most glorious day. My wife and sister are both very well. I have begun to work. Felpham is a sweet place for study, because it is more spiritual than London. Heaven opens here on all sides her golden gates. The sweet air and the voices of winds, trees, and birds, and the odours of the happy ground make it a dwelling for immortals. I thank you for your very beautiful and encouraging verses, which I account a crown of laurels. Receive from me a return of verses, such as Felpham produces by me, which I cannot resist sending to you." And subsequently, Blake included in the letter an incredible description of a meditation that he experienced sitting on the beach. Now, I've been fortunate enough to go down to Felpham and to look at his cottage, and we went down to the beach to see it for ourselves. And this would have been the very beach where he wrote, because this is only a few hundred yards from his home. So he would have gone straight down here and he would have sat here. And he describes the vision that he had. And so during the pandemic, we went down there actually, and I filmed this on the beach.
To my friend Butts I write my first vision of light. On the yellow sands sitting, the sun was emitting his glorious beams from heaven's high streams. Over sea, over land, my eyes did expand into regions of air, away from all care, into regions of fire, remote from desire. The light of the morning, heaven's mountains adorning, in particles bright, the jewels of light distinct shone and clear. Amazed and in fear, I each particle gazed, astonished, amazed, for each was a man, human formed. Swift I ran, for they beckoned to me, remote by the sea, saying, "Each grain of sand, every stone on the land, each rock and each hill, each fountain and rill, each herb and each tree, mountain, hill, earth and sea, cloud, meteor and star, are men seen afar." I stood in the streams of heaven's bright beams, and saw Felpham sweet beneath my bright feet, in soft female charms, and in her fair arms my shadow I knew, and my wife's shadow too, and my sister and friend. We like infants descend in our shadows on earth, like a weak mortal birth. My eyes more and more, like a sea without shore, continue expanding, the heavens commanding, till the jewels of light, heavenly men beaming bright, appeared as one man, who, complacent, began my limbs to enfold in his beams of bright gold. Like dross, purged away all my mire and my clay. Soft consumed in delight, in his bosom sun bright, I remained. Soft he smiled, and I heard his voice mild, saying, "This is my fold, O thou ram horned with gold? Who awakest from sleep on the sides of the deep? On the mountains around the roarings resound of the lion and wolf, the loud sea and deep gulf. These are guards of my fold, O thou ram horned with gold. And the voice faded mild, I remained as a child. All I ever had known before me bright shone. I saw you and your wife by the fountains of life. Such the vision to me appeared on the sea.
And I have one more film that was made down there. Blake's time in Felpham was not all rosy. In fact, he managed to get himself arrested for sedition, and he was tried for sedition, all because of the false claims of a soldier that he found in his garden and told him to get out, and forced him out, actually. And the soldier then made up some lies about him and accused him of having said, "Damn the king," which of course is sedition. It's considered traitorous to even utter such words, and it carries the death penalty. So it was a very serious matter. And he wrote about this as well. And I made, in the letter that he wrote, again to Thomas Butts, he described what happened with him and the soldier. And basically, this all happened in his garden and outside his house. And nearby was an inn called the Fox Inn, where the soldier was billeted. The house still exists. The inn still exists. It's still called the Fox Inn. And so I filmed a version of that description in the actual place where it took place, which was just an amazing thing to be able to do. The letter begins just as a precursor to the film. It was a very short film. It's only 2 or 3 minutes, I think. I am at present in a bustle to defend myself against a very unwarrantable warrant from a justice of the peace in Chichester, which was taken out against me by a private in Captain Leith's troop of the 1st Royal Dragoons for an assault and seditious words. The wretched man has terribly perjured himself, as has his comrade, for as to sedition, not one word relating to the king or government was spoken by either him or me. His enmity. Well, why don't we allow the film to take up the story? His enmity arises from my having turned him out of my garden, into which he had been invited as an assistant by a gardener at work therein without my knowledge that he was so invited. I desired him as politely as was possible to go out of my garden. He made me an impertinent answer. I insisted on his leaving the garden. He refused. I persisted in desiring his departure. He then threatened to knock out my eyes, with many abominable imprecations and with some contempt for my person. It affronted my foolish pride. I, therefore, took him by the elbows and pushed him before me till I'd got him out, and there I intended to have left him. But he, turning about, put himself into a posture of defiance, threatening and swearing at me. I perhaps foolishly and perhaps not, stepped out at the gate and, putting aside his blows, took him again by the elbows and, keeping his back to me, pushed him forward down the road about 50 yards. He all the while endeavouring to turn around and strike me, raging and cursing, which drew out several neighbours. At length, when I had got him to where he was quartered, which was very quickly done, we were met at the gate by the master of the house, the Fox Inn, who is the proprietor of my cottage, and his wife and daughter, and the man's comrade, and several other people. My landlord compelled the soldiers to go inside after many abusive threats against me and my wife by the two soldiers, but not one word of threat on account of sedition was uttered at that time. This method of revenge was planned between them after they had got together into the stable. Every man is now afraid of speaking to a soldier or looking at a soldier, for the peaceable villagers have always been forward in expressing their kindness for us, and they express their sorrow as soon as they hear of it. Everyone here is my evidence for peace and good neighbourhood, and yet such is the present state of things that this foolish accusation must be tried in public. Well, I am content, I murmur not, and I doubt not that I shall receive justice. I'm only sorry for all the trouble and expense. I must now express to you my conviction that all is come from the spiritual world for good and not for evil. So that that was it. Another little effort that I kept myself busy with during the pandemic. There is a third film which I intended to show tonight, but it is not finished yet. I was editing it and putting some sound to it, and I just didn't get it finished today, unfortunately. It was going to be included, but it will be another time. This won't be the last time we celebrate Blake, and it doesn't even have to be on his birthday. I think we can just take a look at this for a moment. This is Blake's own portrait of himself, and he looks out from that portrait with all of the passion and the determination to get his truth across, to lay up treasures in heaven, as he puts it. He lives on and on through these words and through vibrations. He is within us. He is Sri Bhairava. So let's meditate in silence for a little while before we finish for this evening. Blake knew, as we know, the power of innocence, that it is the driving force of the whole universe. We began our celebration on Thursday with some readings of some of the songs of innocence. And so let's finish with one more song of innocence. A cradle song. Sweet dreams form a shade o'er my lovely infant's head. Sweet dreams of pleasant streams be by happy, silent, moony beams. Sweet sleep with soft down, weave thy brows an infant crown. Sweet sleep, angel mild, hover o'er my happy child. Sweet smiles in the night, hover over my delight. Sweet smiles, mother's smiles, all the livelong night beguiles. Sweet moans, dove-like sighs, chase not slumber from thy eyes. Sweet moans, sweeter smiles, all the dove-like moans beguiles. Sleep, sleep, happy child, all creation slept and smiled. Sleep, sleep, happy sleep, while o'er thee thy mother weep. Sweet babe, in thy face holy image I can trace. Sweet babe, once, like thee, thy Maker lay and wept for me. Wept for me, for thee, for all, when he was an infant small. Thou his image ever see, heavenly face that smiles on thee, on me, on all who became an infant small. Infant smiles are his own smiles. Heaven and earth to peace beguiles. And we'll just finish with a very brief prayer. Holy Mother, you who are Sri Ganesha, you who are all the deities, please make us the shining beacons of your love here on earth. Please make us the humble instruments of God's will here on earth. Please allow us to prove that man is God's most successful creation, that we may fulfill your magnificent vision, that we may announce the advent of the greatest incarnation, which is Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi. Jai Shri Mataji. Holy Mother, you are Sri Kalki. You are the Queen of Sasrara. You are the giver of ultimate liberation. We will say the third mantra of Mother's three great mantras. Om Tvameva Sakshat Sri Kalki Sakshat Shri Sahasrara Swamini Moksha Pradaini Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha. We are the beacons. We are the realized souls. Whatever we feel is transmitted into the ether. Whatever we do. So let's collectively raise our kundalinis and raise awareness, raise man into the higher consciousness. As instruments of the divine. Raise our kundalini and put ourselves in bandha.
Children are heard on the green, and laughing is heard on the hill. My heart is at rest within my breast, and everything else is still. Then come home, my children, the sun is gone down, and the dews of night arise. Come, leave off play, and let us away, till the morning appears in the skies. Let us play, for it is yet day, and we cannot go to sleep. sight in the sky, the little birds fly, and the hills are all covered with sheep. Well, go and play till the light fades away, and then go home to bed. The little ones leapt and shouted and laughed, and all the hills end